With Korean author Han Gang winning the Nobel Literature Prize, interest has skyrocketed not only in Korean literature but also in its translation. The globalization of K-literature can be traced back to a missionary by the name of James Gale. After landing in Chosun, now Korea, in 1888, he learnt the Korean language, translated the Bible into Korean, and introduced works like The Cloud Dream of the Nine and The Story of Chunyang to the English-speaking world. Can you believe there were people spreading the literature of Chosun, a country barely known to the rest of the world, even all the way back then? Translators, the unsung heroes who helped globalize Korean literature, are finally getting the recognition they deserve, on par with original creators. And among these shining stars, we'll meet someone whose light has been glowing strong and steady for quite some time. Stay tuned for our Thursday segment Kreme de la Kreme, coming straight up after this song, Star by N Flying.
달려가고 있어 너에게 모두 고요하게 잠든 세상의 끝에 서서 쏟아지는 빛을 향해 한 걸음 한 걸음 오래 기다려왔던 Starry Starry Night 전해줄래 지금 너에게 멀리 포근하게 잠든 구름의 길을 따라 반짝이는 별을 닮은 너에게 전할게 있잖아 You're my only one star Yeah 너는 아름다운 기억 누군가의 서툰 첫사랑 잊지 마 너는 그렇게 찬란히 빛나 때로 숨고 싶어지면 우릴 감싸주는 저 밤하늘처럼 언제나 함께 할 거야 You're like a shooting star 보여줄게 지금 이 순간 조금 희미했던 우리 기억의 강을 건너 선명해진 밤을 지나 너에게 닿을 때 눈을 떠 You're my only one star Yeah 너는 아름다운 기억 누군가의 서툰 첫사랑 잊지 마 너는 그렇게 찬란히 빛나 때로 숨고 싶어지면 우릴 감싸주는 저 밤하늘처럼 언제나 함께 할 거야 You're like a shooting star 지쳐 울고 싶어질 땐 눈앞에 펼쳐진 저 밤하늘을 봐 영원히 함께 할 거야 넌 그대로 그렇게 있어주면 돼 You're like a shooting star You're like a shooting star
If success is your goal, tune in to Creme de la Creme to learn the secrets of the top players in their field. We are joined by an esteemed guest today who is helping to spread Korean literature all around the world. He's been translating and publishing Korean novels and poetry for 35 years, introducing it to the English-speaking world. And we are honored to invite translator Brother Anthony to our show. An Son-jae 수사님, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Very good.
A round of applause from our team as well. Can you introduce yourself briefly for our listeners?
Well, I'm usually called Brother Anthony because I'm a brother in a community, religious community based in France called Thésée. And I'm also in Korean called An Son-jae because in 1994 I became Korean and that's my official Korean name.
Ah, you became naturalized in Korea.
Brother Anthony is, we're talking in English, so
Okay.
that's my standard name.
So I'll call you Brother Anthony
You
today.
call me Brother
It is
Anthony.
wonderful to have you here, Brother Anthony.
Yeah, thank you.
I imagine that with the Hangang Nobel Literature Prize, you're going to be very wanted.
Oh, I don't
feel
know.
like-
I'm too old for all that.
No, you can never be too old. You can never be too old. I feel like you'll be called from so many networks.
No. It's been very quiet so
Oh, no,
far.
no.
I'm
Mark my
glad,
words.
I'm
I
glad.
feel like you will be. So I have to ask, what was your reaction to Hangang's Nobel Literature Prize win?
Oh dear. I mean, I've met Hangang and Deborah, her English translator. And of course, you know, Koreans have been wanting to have this prize for so long that, well, we're happy for Korea.
We
And
are.
we're happy for Hangang.
Indeed.
But we all know that winning the Nobel Prize for a writer can be very difficult.
Of course.
It establishes a kind of expectation that you can never live up to. Anything you publish after that, people say, meh. And of course, in Korea, there are people saying, how can a woman win the Nobel Prize? We have men writers who are much better. Things like that.
But I mean, her work it was released to high critical acclaim. And it's not really a light read.
It's not entertaining at all. It's about the harshness and the difficulty of being human. But that's why she got the award, because the Swedish Academy likes that.
But I mean, it's something that speaks to all of us, isn't it? What
Well,
does
I
it
don't
mean to
know,
be
but
human? It's a very
lot of
deep
people
question.
read to be entertained, and she's not into entertaining.
She's into, I guess, analysing the human soul and the human
representing
condition.
the pain of being human.
Indeed. And you actually once connected her work to other forms of media such as Parasite or Squid Game. Is it the parallels in kind of the social commentary that you see similarities in?
Yeah, because that's the best part of Korean art, whether cinema or writing or novels, focusing on the difficulty of being human, the pain of it.
There is quite a lot of that, isn't there?
The ambiguity of it.
Indeed. But there's also great joy as well, which we shall talk about.
I mean, there's fun as well.
Yes.
There's fun as well. But vegetarian, there's not much fun.
It's a dark read,
It's
shall we
dark.
say. Okay. So there's also been a spotlight on Deborah Smith, who translated The Vegetarian. When we were talking before the show aired, you said you actually know Deborah Smith.
I know her a little bit because she used to live in Korea when she was studying in the Translation Academy, and so we met several times, and so I know Deborah. Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on her translation of the novel?
Well, Deborah is, like many modern translators, is very clear that the translation has to work in English, that readability is far more important than literal accuracy.
Right. And I feel like the Korean language particularly is very difficult to translate with accuracy anyway.
In any case, I mean, English is just totally different. And we're talking about a literary style It's not just about translation, it's about rewriting, especially for commercial publication.
Right. So in some ways, the entertainment factor or the readability, as you said, is kind of takes priority over
that's the only thing that
accuracy.
counts. I mean, nobody in the outside world cares if a translation is accurate.
That's true.
The only thing that counts is whether they like reading it and feel at ease with it. Basically, the important thing is that they should not realize it's a translation.
Right, that's a very important point.
If it feels like a translation, it's failed.
That's very true. And when you're choosing the work to translate, what's your criteria? I think I read somewhere in an article that you believe it's almost fate or a higher power, shall we say?
Yeah, I mean, mostly I've translated poetry. I've only done a few novels, and that was a sort of a sideline.
Right.
I've done, 60 volumes of poetry, and choosing who I translated has always been just by pure chance.
Right.
I couldn't explain why I did that and not that. I don't run around looking for poets to translate.
It
just came.
falls into your lap.
It just came and somehow happened.
So it's kind of a very organic process, shall we say, in you choosing your work to translate?
I mean, I always say that translation is my hobby. It's
Wow.
not my main job. It never has been my main job. It's something I do.
Perhaps that's why you've been able to do it so long.
Maybe.
But you mentioned poetry. Poetry is so difficult. I remember, studying English literature at school, and even in your native language, I would say poetry is such a difficult medium. Why poetry specifically, would you say?
I don't really know, but one thing, of course, is that a poem is very short.
Right.
And so you finish it. Whereas if you start translating a novel, it goes on and on and on, and it's a totally different kind of dynamic.
I guess you have to really think about the overall flow as well if you're translating a whole
it's a
novel.
very different exercise. But poetry is more beautiful and more human.
Would you say the Korean poetry is harder to translate, though?
I don't know about hard. I've translated a lot of Korean poetry. But
So you're a pro.
I mean,
this
there
point.
are poems and poets that I said, I can't do this, I don't understand. Most of the poetry I translated is, in fact, quite simple. There are one or two exceptions, a few exceptions, but there are poets. I've once or twice said, I can't do this.
In some way, I feel like simple poetry would be even harder to translate because you have to get that simplicity, the tone, as well as the meaning across as well.
I mean, some of the very popular poems, popular in Korea, I always say it wouldn't matter how you translate them, they would never be popular in English because they don't work in the way that English poetry works.
That must be very true.
And it just doesn't come over.
So let's talk about one of the collections of poetry that you translated. It's The Dawn of Labour. I have it right here with me now. Lovely blue cover. It's the poetry collection by Park No-hae, originally published in 1984. But I believe you did this one quite recently?
Yeah, this year.
What made you
came out this
choose
year.
to do this one 40 years after its original publishing?
Yeah, well, that's not my fault.
Was there anything that drew you
it just
to
happened that I came into contact with the people around Park No-hae now. And
I see.
of course, since for a long time now, he's been known better for photographs of poor people in difficult countries, but he's been writing as well, of course. And then it came to me that this collection had to be translated and had not been, so therefore I had to do it.
We've got one of the poems from the collection up on the screen right now. And for our listeners, let me just read you an excerpt from one of them. This is called Heaven by Park No-hye. We too want to become heaven, not a dark clouded heaven that presses down, but a clear blue heaven over a world where we lift one another. It's very beautiful, but there's a darkness to it as well. Is that how you interpreted it, Brother Anthony?
It's like the dawn in the dawn of labor. The starting point is the harshness of the laboring class's life. The great harshness, great darkness, but within it somehow always there is a hope of a dawn. And becoming something and finding a way through.
So it's that contrast or the movement, shall we say, from dark to light in which we can find
the hope.
The hope.
His third book was called The Human is Hope. The Human is Hope.
So beautiful.
So long as you are human, there's hope.
Oh, I think that's a gem of wisdom for all of us this morning, isn't it? To be human is to hope. To be human is to have hope. That's so wonderful. So as I was telling you, Brother Anthony, this show just started last week. We've had a lot of Korean guests on the show. But for our overseas listeners, I have to translate on the spot, which always has me a little bit nervous because, what if I don't get their meaning across properly? Do you ever feel that nervousness? I guess yours is written so you can mull over it a little bit more, but do you still feel a sort of anxiety over whether you can get the meaning across accurately?
Well, my Korean is not very good. I came here much too late. I was nearly 40 when I arrived.
Right.
And I studied a bit, but I've always taught in English. So I never had to really master Korean as, say, a priest would have to.
Right.
So when I started to translate, I was worried about not getting it right, about misunderstanding, because Korean is very unclear.
It can be.
There's no subject,
right?
So you don't know who is doing what. So I've always tried to find somebody who would check.
Right.
I mean, it's a hard job, and people are mostly too busy, but quite often I've published even as by me and somebody else, a Korean.
Right.
Some Korean who has had time and been kind enough to look at my translations and say, no, that's not what that means.
Right.
You have to correct that, and that's great help.
So there is a collaboration element to your work as well. I would have thought and assumed.
I have to.
That it's very solitary work.
Because poetry, I mean, you want to get it right.
Of course.
And it's not like Deborah translating vegetarian for a wide readership. There are not many people going to read poetry anyway. But you want to get as close as possible to the Korean,
of course,
yet in a poem that is an English poem, not just a translation.
Right. So many things to think about.
Right.
And I did touch on this before, but the Korean language specifically is, I grew up speaking it at home. I was sent to Korean school on Saturdays, and I've lived here for 11 years now, but I still have difficulty sometimes, especially I feel like Korean has a lot of onomatopoeic words and hermetic words. And they're also similar, like 보글보글, 바글바글,
I mean,
it can be so difficult.
I don't really understand when people are, for example, giving lectures. I just fall asleep.
It's easy to do.
I mean, for chatting, for simple conversation, it's not difficult. But when people start talking, as I say, there are just too many things that escape, and then I'm getting a bit deaf. I don't quite hear as well as I should. So, but it doesn't matter. I'm retired.
It's a hobby, and
It's my
a lot
hobby.
of your work
But
is
I
written
want
as
the
well.
translation to work as translation, as poem, or as novel.
Right.
So that's the most important, more important than exact faithfulness, but we try to avoid mistakes.
Of course, of course. And then, of course, tied in with language very closely is culture as well. You said you moved to Korea almost at the age of 40, but you have lived here for, how long has it been now? 44 years now. So you must have a decent idea of how the kind of Korean culture works.
Yes.
Do you
yes.
find that you have to really take that into account when you do your translations?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yes.
But do you still sort of put yourself in the shoes of the reader in an English-speaking country, would you say?
Well, I suppose there are sometimes you need to find a way of explaining something which
Right.
is obvious to a Korean or to somebody who knows Korea.
Right.
But that might not be obvious to somebody outside. But it's hard to find an example. But beyond just the grammar, there's the culture, and
Yes.
the culture is Korean culture, and the way people react to each other or to life is not quite the same.
So many things to take into account.
No.
It's a very difficult, noble hobby that I think you have, Brother Anthony. So we're going to listen to another song right now, but when we come back, we are going to dive deeper into Brother Anthony's life story, how he spent his past 44 years in Korea. While we listen to the song, Brother Anthony, if you could draw your life graph for us, specifying the highs and any lows you might have had in your career. While he does that, let's listen to a song, guys. This is 새로 아리랑, the new 아리랑 by Dope Dozy.
아리랑 아리랑 아라리요 니마 가시는 길에 꽃을 밟으시오 동지 섣달 지나기 전에 돌아오시오 할 일 없는 맘이 님이 귀에 닿길 바라오 그들어진 꽃이 우리 연이 아니길 그저 뒷모습을 보는 나는 꿈이 아니길 길을 가는 그대 모습 보겨 뒤돌아볼지 몰라 흔드는 손을 멈추지 않고 있지 돌아오는 길에 이 달을 벗삼아 내게 날개가 있다면 난 작은 나비가 되어 그대에게 아직 그 자리에 있어 노라 하고 님을 향한 마음 전달하리라 아리랑 아리랑 아라리요 니마 가시는 길에 꽃을 밟으시오 아리랑 아리랑 아라리요 할 일 없는 맘이 님이 귀에 닿길 바라오 이별이 있다면 다시 만남도 있겠지 일생이다 하면은 먼 곳에서 만나겠지 그때 우리 만날 그 자리가 떠난 그대로였으면 좋겠다는 마음을 전하겠어 내가 그대가 준 마음을 기억하듯이 떠나는 그대 모습도 이 맘에 묻었지 눈을 감는 밤이 익숙해지고 떨어지는 눈물은 여러 해가 또 넘어가오 나도 그대 같은 삶을 사는 것 같소 이제는 눈을 뜬 것보다 감을 때가 더 많소 하고 싶은 얘기는 점점 많아졌어 늦기 전에 그대 얼굴 어서 보고 싶소 아리랑 아리랑 아라리요 니마 다시 만날 땐 나를 안아주오 아리랑 아리랑 아라리요 할 일 없는 맘이 님이 귀에 닿길 바라오
That was Dope Dozy with 새로 아리랑, the new 아리랑. You guys are listening to and watching Culture Crunch on ARIRANG Radio and TV right now, and I have a quick notice for you guys. ARIRANG Radio is conducting a survey with Gallup Korea to hear your opinion about ARIRANG Radio. If you are a domestic or foreign listener residing in Korea, please join our online survey and let us know your ideas. Your opinions will be greatly useful for ARIRANG Radio to provide better content and services. You can participate via the website arirangradio.com by clicking the banner on the left side of the player, or you can do it through the ARIRANG Radio application. If you're on Jeju-do Island, you might also meet one of our researchers on the street. So thank you in advance for your participation. It will be very, very helpful to us here at ARIRANG Radio. So this is our Thursday segment, Kreme de la Kreme. I am joined by none other than the renowned translator of Korean literature, Brother Anthony. So if you have any questions for Brother Anthony, do feel free to drop them in the comments. Let me read a couple of the comments that we have so far. Leon says, loving the interview so far. Brother Anthony is so wise, and loving him speaking about the insights of translating Korean literature. It's not many radio programs, guys, that you get to dive into the mind of someone so brilliant, such as Brother Anthony here. So thank you once again. Leon also says his translations are featured a lot on Paul Matthews' segment in another ARIRANG show, including the short story Guide to Seoul Cave by Kim Mi-wol. I think that was introduced just yesterday. So hopefully we will be seeing more of Brother Anthony's work here and there, especially here on ARIRANG Radio. Okay, so Brother Anthony, you have been in Korea for 44 years, you said, from 1980. How did you first come to Korea?
Well, I belong to this religious community, and by chance we met Cardinal Kim, the Archbishop of Seoul,
Right.
way back, and he invited brothers. He had told the community he would like brothers to come to Korea to help young people deepen their understanding of life, of faith. So I had been living for a time in a slum in the Philippines, which was rather difficult. And the community asked me if I would like to join other brothers and come to Korea. And I said, oh, yes, please.
You jumped at that
I'd heard
chance.
about Korea a bit already. And I'd met Cardinal Kim in Hong Kong once in 1977. So that's how I came, with other brothers,
I see.
invited by Cardinal Kim.
And it's amazing. You must have seen the whole development of, the rapid development of Korea as a country. It must have been so different.
When we came, we live way down toward Gimpo Airport, and to go to in downtown, you had to take a bus. There was no subway at that time.
I see.
And the buses used to go racing down the highway
They
because
still
there
do.
were no private cars.
Ah, so it was mostly just buses.
Private cars came in, 83, 84.
Wow.
Before at that, you only had official cars, trucks, taxis, and buses.
How amazing. And then you've been working in Korea ever since, or you've been doing your work and then translating as a hobby, you say.
Yeah.
But it is a big part of your life right now. And then what made you decide to become a naturalized citizen here? Was there a turning point in that decision?
I knew somebody, an American a priest, because I began teaching in Sogang straight away, by chance. It wasn't planned, but I was there in Sogang. And one of the American priests there that I used to meet sometime around 88 he told me about his process of naturalization. And a few years later, I was thinking, well, why not? It gives you a deeper rootedness.
Of course.
And there's no more hassle with visa and emigration. So I went to the Justice Ministry to inquire about how and whether it was possible. And I was talking to this official, and he suddenly said, people asked to be naturalized for different reasons, he said, but I don't think I've ever met somebody who wanted to be naturalized because they love Korea.
Is that so?
That's what he said.
Wow. I
said,
would have thought there would be more.
Thank you, yes.
But I mean, your contribution to Korean culture has been so great that it's no wonder that the Justice Minister jumped at that chance to get you on board as a Korean.
I have no regrets. That was when you were naturalized at that time, there was an exam, which was very simple, and then there was an interview. So I came into this interview, a bit nervous.
Yeah.
And they said, do you want to become Korean? I said, yes. They said, don't you think you might regret it? I said, no, I don't think so.
And that's
said,
been the case?
Thank you very much. Kadode.
Kadode. You can go.
So
that's all. That's all we have for you. Wow. And then when you became naturalized, you chose the name. Did you choose it yourself, An Son-jae?
Well, An Son-jae is basically a form of Anthony, which people always called me An Sonny. An Sonny. But An Son-hee sounds a little bit like a girl's name, usually, not only, but at that time I was translating a novel called Hwanggyong. It's a Buddhist legend about a little pilgrim, a little boy pilgrim.
Okay.
And his name is Son-jae in Korean, in Chinese Korean. Son-jae. Son-jae Dongja. And so I said, An Son-jae? So I said, An Son-jae.
Yes.
An Son-jae. It's a Buddhist name. Son-jae is a Buddhist name. It's a little pilgrim. And this little pilgrim, everybody he meets turns out to be a teacher.
Right.
In every meeting, he is enriched. So I said, that's good.
So he's learning from everyone.
Yeah.
Would you say that kind of encapsulates your life?
I said, that's right. That's me. That's true.
Okay. Well, it's time to talk about your life graph then. Very different to the one we saw last week. You're our second guest on Creme de la Creme. First of all, it's very straight lines, which I thought was interesting.
Yes, life goes on.
It does. And the other interesting thing that I thought was it's mostly on the up. You don't seem to have had many lows in your life.
No.
Would you say that's based on, or that comes from your positive mindset that you have?
Well, I've been very lucky. I mean, when I arrived, it's a bit low because you don't speak Korean.
Right.
You don't know where you are. And this was May 1980.
Right.
The Chontuan was on the horizon and on the up and up.
Right.
So it starts a bit low down.
Okay.
But then I began to teach by chance in Sogang. And teaching helped.
Okay, so that's the first
but that's
step.
still, it was a little bit uncertain about that. But then the first red line is becoming actual professor, which again was not on the program. I started just part-time teaching, but then they asked me to teach Chaucer and Shakespeare in graduate school.
Wow.
And after a couple of years, I said, well, this is full-time work, preparing that kind of lecture.
It must be.
Everything. So
Two very heavyweight.
So I became a real professor.
So that's the first
the
red line.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was one high point.
That was in 1985 already.
Oh, wow, okay.
I became a professor.
So pretty early on in your...
That was good, and I was teaching Chaucer and Shakespeare and John Donne and Milton or whatever, the old classical poetry. But at the same time, only a few years later, in 88, I said to one of our professors, I'm teaching English poetry to Koreans. I don't really to know about Korean poetry. And I can't do Chinese, so it would have to be contemporary Korean poetry.
Right.
And she introduced me to the poetry of Ku Sang, who was a senior Catholic poet, whose poems were mostly very simple. And she said, this is not too difficult.
You started
it has
easy.
spirituality and depth and fun. So
Right.
that's how I started to translate.
In 88, you said.
That was 88, and then the first book published, Poems by Kusa, was published in 1990. But then it goes up again because in 1993, I went to Insadong and began to drink tea, Korean tea,
Okay.
green tea,
Yes.
and learn about tea, the way of tea. So that's another up.
Was there something that spurred that decision? Is it something you fell into?
It
Your
just
love for
happened,
tea?
just came along. I
Right.
met a tea master and a group of young people who were around her and learning from her. And then I went down, the next year I went down to Chirisan, to Hadong, to see the green tea being made and dried and drinking the fresh green tea. So a few years later, I wrote a book in English called The Korean Way of Tea,
Oh, wow.
introducing tea
We'll
to
have to.
non-Korean.
We'll have to get our hands on that one
That's
day.
all there. And then so I had become a professor, a tea drinker, and a translator. Well, what else can you hope for?
The tea drinking is
and
big
actually,
in that, I
well,
feel.
this is not very interesting, it's not very intelligent. Then I stopped being a professor when I retired in 2007. But in 2011, I became the president of the Royal Asiatic Society in Korea.
Wow,
And I
congratulations.
was president there for 10 years. And at the start, you mentioned James Gale.
Yes.
Well, James Gale was one of the founders. He
Of the society.
He gave the first lecture to the Royal Asiatic Society in 1900.
Wow, what a connection.
And so James Gale, in addition, when he retired from Korea, he went to live in England, in Bath. And with his daughter, and his daughter then stayed in England and married. And I have a very close friendship with James Gale's two granddaughters.
Wow.
So it all goes together. It all goes together.
Wow, that's so amazing. I had no idea when giving the opening that you would have this connection.
Well, James, I recognize, you see, James Gale is the only missionary who really loved Korean literary culture. He translated a huge amount of Chosun poetry
Right,
and
right.
text, and so most of it was never published. It's still in Toronto in the library, waiting to be published.
Perhaps one day.
I've been much luckier than James Gale. He published 2 translations. I published 70. Well, so it's easier now. It's easier
So
now.
modest. Okay, so what's the final red line on the graph then?
That's the end of being a professor.
Okay, so at your
But it
retirement.
doesn't really make any difference. So,
Because you're still so busy and enjoying life to the max, I feel.
So I'm no longer president of the RAS. Life is very quiet, but I'm still translating. And then for the last 2-3 years, I've also been doing a lot of research on the history of the Catholic Church in Korea
Right.
in the 18th, 19th century.
Wow.
Time of persecution, translating a lot of stuff from French into English.
Wow. So I feel like, are you the sort of person that always has to keep busy,
You have
or
to
at least
do
their mind
something.
busy?
Yeah,
Yes.
Of course, otherwise you get bored.
Of course. Absolutely amazing. I think I aspire for my life graph to look like this later on. Just keep going up, keep going up.
Nothing to regret. And I've been lucky. I've
That
been
is-
very lucky. And I've met so many good people. And it's all thanks to them, that they've sustained me and encouraged me and helped
Well,
me.
I feel like luck follows good people
Yeah.
and a good heart. So I think there's something there. So you mentioned tea. Are there any other things in Korea, especially that bring you great joy, would you say?
Makgeolli,
Makgeolli, the rice wine. Yeah.
dongdongju, hongo,
홍어, really?
홍어.
Okay, so that's the fermented
fermented fish.
Yeah, the very smelly fermented fish. That's so amazing. 빈대떡. We've got the Korean pancakes. Gugak, Korean traditional music.
Gugak, whether pansori or kayagum or tanso.
Absolutely amazing. I feel like you're really kind of living life to the max, taking in everything you can, and I think that's something I aspire to do as well. Okay, and then we've heard that you have one of your translations, one of your poems memorized.
Yeah, I've done several thousand poems, but there is only one memorized.
Really? Wow, so it must be a very special one. 천상병's 귀천 or Back to Heaven. Do you think you'd be able to share it with us?
You see, Kwichan is the name of a cafe in Sadong.
Ah, okay.
That was run by the wife of Chun Sang-byung.
Ah.
And this Kwichan was the name of the cafe, but it's the title of his token poem. Everybody knows this poem.
I see.
In Korea.
If you could recite it for us, we'd be very honored.
Back to Heaven by Chun Sang-byung. I'll go back to heaven again, hand in hand with the dew that melts at a touch of the dawning day. I'll go back to heaven again with the dusk together, just we two, at a sign from a cloud after playing on the slopes. I'll go back to heaven again at the end of my outing to this beautiful world. I'll go back and say that was beautiful.
That was beautiful. That was Brother Anthony's recitation of
I can do it in
천상병's
Korean as well.
귀천. Oh, you can. Wow. That was so moving. I feel like there's a certain sadness to it, but again, hope.
You see,
what
he
we were
wrote
talking
this
about
poem.
earlier.
He wrote this poem in 1970 when he was very, very sick, dying in bed in Busan. He thought he was only 40 years old, but he thought he was going to die. Going back to heaven is dying.
Right.
He thought he was going to die, and he'd been through terrible times because some friends of his had gone to the North Korean embassy in Berlin, and then he'd been picked up in connection with that and tortured, electric torture, in prison for 6 months. He had no money, no family in Seoul. He depended entirely on help from friends for what he needed. So after all that, the only thing he wants to say about life is that it was beautiful.
That's so moving. I mean, I think in this day and age, especially our younger generation, we can't begin to imagine the horrors that the older generations might have gone through war, through torture, as you said. But to be at a point where you're facing your own mortality and being able to see the beauty and the hope in the life you've lived is so beautiful. Any particular line that really speaks to you? Is there any particular line that particularly speaks to you?
No, that was beautiful.
That was beautiful, the last line. I get it. And what would you say is the biggest draw or the biggest charm of doing translations to you?
Building bridges.
With people?
Between nations, between cultures, between Korea and the world. Because there are not many people outside of Korea who learn Korean.
It's true. It is
Except
quite
for the
rare
Koreans.
still. It is quite rare, yes.
But it's our community, our Teze, the community of Teze is devoted to reconciliation and unity and communication. So that it's very meaningful activity to enable this culture of Korea and the poets or novelists of Korea to speak beyond Korea, beyond the frontiers, words without borders.
Right.
It has to be in English. Well, it can be in French or Swedish, but English is the universal language.
Yeah.
It's a fact. And if I can help put some Korean poetry or fiction into English so that people can read it and get to know Korea a bit better, a bit more deeply. That's a meaningful act of service. I think the translator is not a job, not the literary translation. It's not a job. It's a service. You're serving the writer by enabling his words to speak beyond frontiers.
Beyond his initial intended audience. That's absolutely amazing. You know, I always thought of translation as just a job, but I'm going to have to change my mindset at this point.
It's a communication.
Communication and connection, as you said.
Enhancing communication.
That's such a wonderful way of looking at it.
But it's much more difficult to find a publisher than it is to translate. That's the problem.
That's true. That's the next step down the line, is it not? So I think a lot of our listeners really may have taken an interest in translation today. I know a couple of our listeners are always in the chats, kind of real-time translating some of the conversations that I have as well. But especially today, following your appearance on the show, Brother Anthony, I hope we see more interest in translating and in K-literature in general, of course. We'll be hearing more from Brother Anthony in just a second, but first, let's check out how you can listen to Culture Crunch. Catch Culture Crunch on ARIRANG Radio at 11 a.m. KST every day. You can listen to our show via the ARIRANG Radio application, which you can download from your app store, or watch the program on ARIRANG TV. If you're in the Jeju area, tune in to 88.7 in Jeju City, 88.1 in Seogwipo City, or 101.9 in the Daejeong area. If you're in Busan, you can listen from BEFM 90.5, and in the Kijang, Noksan, Cheongwan areas, tune in to 103.3. You can also join us on our YouTube live stream. The channel is ARIRANG Radio K-pop. And if you miss any of these, don't worry. You can catch the radio rerun at 2 a.m. KST every day. Don't forget, there are exclusive episodes on Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. KST, only on ARIRANG Radio. Catch Culture Crunch on ARIRANG Radio at 11 a.m. KST every day. Welcome back to Culture Crunch, and this is Kreme de la Kreme. I am joined by Brother Anthony, who has been instrumental in getting Korean literature out to the rest of the world, especially the English-speaking world. So you mentioned that you have so many works that you've translated already, but are yet to find a publisher. Are there any that we can expect to see from you in the near future?
There are 2 volumes of poetry that are due to come out. They've got publishers in the States. And one is, again, by a worker, a younger worker, Song Kyung-dong. Song Kyung-dong has been very, very active in labor protests. He's been arrested many times. And his one volume is called I Am Not Korean.
Okay.
That's a kind of protest about the way that Korean companies have outsourced their labor to Cambodia, Vietnam, and so on, and then exploited the workers there. And he's ashamed of the way then Korean companies were. I am not Korean. Song Kyung-dong.
Okay.
And then also there's the most recent collection of Chung Ho-sung. And Chung Ho-sung is a very close friend.
Okay.
He has one point in common with me, we have the same birthday,
Ah,
January the 3rd.
that connection.
So we
there.
always celebrate together. And I've already published 2 volumes of poetry, a set of fables, and a novel called Loving, all by Ho Sung. He is very, very popular. And he's a poet who also does a lot of public speaking to provide insight into the meaning of life. His poetry and his talking, very much about love, life, pain, death, hope.
The human condition once
wisdom,
more.
again, a wisdom. He's Catholic, but there's a lot of Buddhism in what he writes. He was born in Hadong and grew up in Daegu, but he lives in Seoul. So he's, I suppose, he's my favorite poet.
So you've gotten to work with him, and we'll see your translations of his work very, very soon.
So anyway, as I said, there are 2 big volumes already out, but at least one, they're more or less out of print. But this one will come out in the States.
Okay.
Soon.
So we have that to look forward to
Yeah, I
very,
hope
very
so.
soon.
Yeah.
Sadly, I would love to spend, an extra 2 hours with you, Brother Anthony, but sadly, that's almost all the time we have today. Do you want to say a final few words to our Culture Crunch family, our listeners?
Well, thank you for inviting me. I've done translating for so many years now. It seems quite natural to translate and to try to bring knowledge about a deeper knowledge of Korea to whoever is interested. It's important. Poetry, I think poetry is the deepest way of getting to know Korea, because that's where the soul of Korea
Indeed.
Speaks through its poetry.
That's so beautiful. It's been so wonderful to have you on the show. I've very, very much enjoyed kind of digging into your brain and your soul, I feel like, and hearing your thoughts on translation and on Korean culture and literature as well. Thank you so much. Guys, that is all the time we have today on Culture Crunch. Thank you for joining me and Brother Anthony as well. I'll leave you with one last song for today, 빛나는 시절, Shining Days by Chu Yun-ha, and I'll see you at 11 a.m. tomorrow for another episode of Culture Crunch.
계절은 어김없이 떠나고 소중한 사람들도 흘러가요. 난 그대 두 손을 꼭 잡고 길을 잃지 않고 걸어요. 세상이 맘처럼 쉽지 않을 땐 언젠가 사라질 가벼운 말 대신 그저 곁에 있기로 해요. 시간이 거짓말처럼 지나서 지금보다 내가 볼품 없어도 그대가 내 곁에 있다면